What will we do in Patagonia? This is Patagonia, a land of endless mountains, frozen glaciers, and the last untouched wilderness on Earth. People call it paradise on Earth, but the truth is, Patagonia is breathtakingly beautiful.
What happens when the wind becomes louder than silence itself? What secrets are hidden in a land where mountains rise like frozen giants and glaciers move like sleeping time? Somewhere on the edge of the world, nature is not just seen, it is felt, deeply and overwhelmingly. In this untouched wilderness, the horizon stretches endlessly, where icy peaks cut through clouds and vast valleys lie carved by ancient forces. Rivers run wild with glacial power, reflecting skies that shift from gold to deep steel blue within moments. Every frame of this land feels like a moving painting, raw, untamed, and impossibly vast. There are no distractions here, only the pure dialogue between earth, ice, and sky. As the journey continues through this extreme southern edge of South America, the land begins to reveal its true identity. Here, colossal granite towers pierce the heavens, glaciers crack with echoing thunder, and winds sculpt the terrain as if time itself is breathing through stone. This is Patagonia, a place where silence carries weight, and every landscape tells a story older than memory. From the jagged peaks of Torres del Paine to endless ice fields that vanish into the horizon, Patagonia stands as one of the last great wild frontiers of the Earth, untouched, powerful, and endlessly cinematic. Lago Argentino unfolds like a vast sheet of liquid glass pressed between mountains and sky, stretching far beyond the limits of sight. Its surface constantly shifts in tone, sometimes a pale turquoise under soft daylight, sometimes a deep steel blue when storm clouds gather above the Andes. This is not a still lake. It breathes with the rhythm of melting glaciers that feed it, carrying ancient ice into its endless basin. Along its distant edges, towering glaciers descend like frozen rivers suspended in time. Massive walls of ice break away in thunderous silence, sending ripples across the water that travel for kilometers before fading into stillness again. The lake becomes a stage where nature performs slow, powerful movements shaped over thousands of years. The surrounding landscape is raw and dramatic. Rocky slopes, wind-carved ridges, and distant snow-covered peaks that appear and disappear behind shifting mist. Light here behaves differently. It bends and fractures through clouds, casting moving patterns across the water's surface like fleeting reflections of another world. There is a deep sense of scale that humbles everything around it. The lake feels infinite, as if it holds the memory of ancient ice ages within its depths. Even silence is not empty here. It carries the distant crack of glaciers and the low whisper of wind sliding over frozen surfaces. At moments, the entire scene turns almost unreal, as if nature has slowed time itself. Lago Argentino is not just a body of water. It is a living archive of ice, light, and motion, constantly rewriting its own form under the vast Patagonian sky. Punta Arenas stands at one of the most extreme edges of the inhabited world, where land dissolves into ocean and the atmosphere feels alive with movement. The wind here is not a background element, it is the main force shaping everything, carving invisible lines through space and carrying the scent of distant Antarctic currents. The horizon is endless. To one side lies the deep, restless waters of the Strait of Magellan, where waves roll with a heavy, rhythmic energy. To the other, vast stretches of rugged terrain extend outward, marked by muted colors of earth, stone, and cold grasslands. The sky dominates everything, constantly shifting between clear brilliance and dramatic swirling cloud systems that seem to move faster than thought. Sunlight in this region feels fragile yet powerful, breaking through dense atmospheric layers to illuminate sections of land in sharp contrast. Shadows stretch long and fluid, reshaping the perception of distance and scale. Even still moments feel dynamic, as if the entire landscape is in slow motion. Torres del Paine rises like a sculpted monument, forged by time, wind, and ancient geological force. Sharp granite towers pierce the sky with almost impossible precision, standing as silent guardians over a landscape shaped by glaciers and elemental pressure. These formations do not simply exist, they dominate the horizon with a presence that feels both timeless and alive. Below these towering peaks lies a world of deep valleys, turquoise lakes, and vast open plains that stretch endlessly toward distant horizons. The contrast is striking: soft glacial waters reflecting jagged stone silhouettes, while rolling winds move across grasslands like invisible waves. Every direction offers a different expression of raw natural architecture. El Chaltén emerges from the Patagonian wilderness like a quiet threshold between earth and sky, a place where the landscape begins to rise towards some of the most dramatic mountain formations on the planet. Nestled beneath towering granite walls, it feels less like a destination and more like an entry point into something far larger, an unfolding world of ice, rock, and wind. Beyond the edge of this small settlement, the terrain quickly transforms. Gentle valleys give way to steep, rugged slopes, and the horizon begins to sharpen into jagged silhouettes. The most dominant presence is the massif of Mount Fitzroy, its spires piercing the sky with an almost unreal sharpness, often wrapped in drifting clouds that cling to its peaks like slow-moving breath. Rivers born from ancient glaciers cut through the valleys below, carrying meltwater that glows with a milky turquoise hue. These waters carve their way through stone and forest, creating natural corridors that guide the eye deeper into the wilderness. The entire region feels like a convergence of elements: stone, ice, wind, and water, all in constant motion. Light here is never stable. It shifts rapidly across the mountains, revealing textures in the rock that appear and vanish within moments. One side of a peak may glow golden, while the other remains submerged in deep shadow. Perito Moreno Glacier stands as one of the most powerful and dynamic ice formations on Earth, a massive river of frozen time flowing slowly through the heart of Patagonia. Unlike most glaciers that retreat into silence, this one lives in motion, advancing, shifting, and constantly reshaping its own form with an almost rhythmic force. Its surface is a vast, fractured landscape of ice, deep crevasses, towering ridges, and luminous blue veins that glow beneath the light. The glacier stretches across the horizon like a frozen wall, rising dramatically above the turquoise waters of Lake Argentino. Every angle reveals new textures, as if the ice has been carved by invisible hands over thousands of years. One of its most striking features is its movement. At unpredictable intervals, massive chunks of ice break away from its face, crashing into the water below with explosive sound and sending waves rippling across the lake. These moments transform silence into thunder, reminding viewers that this frozen giant is alive. Nahuel Huapi Lake stretches across northern Patagonia like a vast inland sea, framed by the rising arms of the Andes. Its surface shifts endlessly between deep sapphire and shimmering turquoise, depending on the angle of light and the movement of clouds above. The lake feels both calm and immense, as if it holds an ancient silence beneath its shifting waters. Surrounding it, mountains rise in layered formations, some softened by forests, others sharp and snow-covered, cutting clean silhouettes into the sky. These peaks reflect across the water, doubling the scale of the landscape and creating mirror-like illusions that blur the boundary between earth and sky. The lake is shaped by glacial origins, and its depth carries a sense of mystery. Cold winds sweep across its surface, forming ripples that travel endlessly toward distant shores. In certain moments, the water becomes perfectly still, turning into a flawless reflection of the sky above, as if the world has inverted itself. In the heart of the Andes, Nahuel Huapi is not just a lake. It is a living reflection of Patagonia itself, vast, fluid, and endlessly evolving under an ever-changing sky. Lanín National Park unfolds as a vast, untamed stretch of southern Andes, where forests, volcanoes, and alpine lakes merge into one continuous wilderness. The landscape feels ancient and elemental, shaped by fire deep beneath the earth and ice that once carved its valleys. At the heart of this region rises the perfectly symmetrical cone of Volcán Lanín, a snow-capped giant that dominates the horizon with quiet authority. The terrain shifts constantly as you move through the park. Dense forests of ancient araucaria trees stand like living relics of prehistoric times, their twisted forms rising above moss-covered ground. Between them, clear mountain streams cut through rock, feeding crystal lakes that reflect the surrounding peaks with mirror-like precision. The water here is so clear that it seems to dissolve the boundary between surface and depth. Here, nature does not feel arranged or observed. It feels alive in its purest form. Lanín National Park stands as a meeting point of fire and ice, where volcanic strength and glacial memory coexist in a landscape that feels both powerful and deeply serene. The fjords of Patagonia are defined by silence and scale. There is little human presence here, only the sound of wind, water, and distant ice movement. They feel ancient and untouched, as if the earth itself has folded and fractured to create these deep, hidden pathways. In their stillness and depth, the fjords represent one of Patagonia's most powerful landscapes, where time, water, and stone exist in a slow, continuous dialogue. Patagonia stands as one of the last true frontiers of raw, untouched earth, where every landscape feels shaped not for comfort, but for scale, silence, and timeless power. From the frozen walls of glaciers to the wind-swept plains and deep ocean channels, this region is defined by constant transformation. Ice moves slowly but endlessly. Mountains rise in sharp defiance of the sky, and water carves its presence into every valley and fjord. What makes Patagonia unforgettable is not just its beauty, but its overwhelming sense of space. Here, distance feels infinite, and silence carries weight. The land does not rush. It exists in geological patience, where even the most dramatic changes unfold over centuries. Light becomes a storyteller, shifting across peaks, lakes, and ice fields in ways that constantly rewrite the same scene. Every place within Patagonia, whether it is a glacier cracking into turquoise water, a volcanic lake reflecting fire and snow, or a fjord disappearing into mist, feels like part of a larger, interconnected system of earth and sky. It is a region where nature is not observed from a distance, but experienced as something alive and ever-moving. Patagonia is not simply a destination. It is a reminder of how vast, powerful, and uncontained the natural world truly is. Subscribe for more cinematic explorations of the world's most powerful natural places. Stay connected for deeper visual storytelling where mountains, glaciers, and oceans reveal stories beyond imagination. Join the journey and experience Earth's wildest frontiers through a new lens.